Good day, everyone. My name is Katie, and you are watching Indie with Kids. And today is the continuation of our weekly series called Farmer Friday. This is when we take a sneak peek at Indiana farms, hosted by a local Indiana farmer who you would typically hear from inside the glass barn at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. However, as we all know, this is the summer that's no fair. So we have our been there, done that hat. And this is the last week for you to get your very own swag box from the glass barn at the Indiana State Fair. This year, however, it says, I've not been there, done that in 2020. So it's a little commemoration of the year that the fair was canceled. I mean, that's historic. It's not good history, but that's something that shows just how much our society has been impacted by COVID. But you guys, good news, your Indiana farmers are still out there working, making food for your families. And today we are gonna hop on over and meet my friend Kelly. She is an Indiana farmer. She's part of a farm family. And if I read it right, she's living on a farm that has been in their family, her husband's family, for a long time. So we're gonna hop on over and meet her in a minute. But I wanted to remind all of you guys watching out there, two things. Number one, if you want to participate in today's Farmer Friday by asking questions about farming, about corn, about anything that Kelly might be able to answer, go ahead and ask your parents if it's okay and pop those questions in the chat. We want to hear from you, and we will ask Kelly your question for you. We'll pop it up on the screen and let her know that you asked. And finally, if you want to get your swag box, I'll show you at the end of today's show what all is inside, but definitely the collector's edition hat. All you have to do is, after today's show, go play Virtual Bingo, which is a game that you would actually play in person if the Indiana State Fair was happening. You'd go to the glass barn, you'd play that, and you might also get yourself a green screen picture. Now you guys know what I'm talking about, right? This is where everybody goes during the State Fair and takes their commemorative picture with their family to remember the Indiana State Fair for that year. If you guys share photos from past years on social media and you tag the glass barn, your parents can win an air fryer, okay? In our house, we call that the nacho maker. So my kids have gotten really good at making nachos with the air fryer. So if you want one of those for your family, go ahead and do that. But I have to tell you, this is the last week to get your special swag box from the glass barn. So we will pop that link in the comments in just a minute. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend Kelly. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
We're so glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. It's a beautiful morning here.
It is, and I see you're dressed kind of warmly.
Yes. First chilly day that we've had this fall. So.
Oh, well, we have a tiny bit of a delay, but it's not terrible. So we're just going to plow forward because that's what farmers do, right?
Yes. We have to.
Oh, it caught up. I knew it would. So I want to ask you, it is kind of chilly outside here in Indianapolis, which is where I am, in Indie with Kids headquarters. Where are you located? Because I see wind.
Yes. So I am exactly 2 hours north of Indianapolis. So kind of in the center of northern Indiana. So we say we're in the middle of everywhere.
And are you right now at your farm?
Yes, I am actually on the original farm homestead. So my husband's great-grandfather started our family farm and lived here. And so when the time was right, my husband bought that farm from his grandparents, and we have kind of taken on the legacy that his great-grandfather started.
That's fantastic. So tell us in a minute what's happening on the farm now, like what kinds of things you're growing, if you have animals. But as far as the history of the farm, what's the history of the farm as far as what was raised on your farm?
So this farm primarily has had grain, so corn and soybeans. However, a long time ago, a lot of farms had livestock, a little bit of hogs and some beef cattle, and a lot of people milked cows. And so at one time on this farm, there was actually livestock. And so we do have an old silo here on our farm from when great grandpa used to store silage, but primarily grain has been the tradition, and that's what we've been keep that's what we've kept going here on our farm, corn and soybeans. We also grow just a little bit of alfalfa to help our neighbors and other customers who have some livestock, 4-H animals, things like that. And yeah, so that is what we primarily do, corn and soybeans.
And so who works on your farm? I know a lot of families work together, but what happens at your farm?
Okay, so my husband and I own we own our little farm, and then also my father-in-law, he also has a farm of his own, and we kind of come together and share resources and help each other out and get everything done.
Excellent. So today I told everybody that we're going to be talking about the corn harvest. And I was wondering, when does the corn harvest actually happen?
I lost audio.
Oh
I'm
no.
sorry.
It's okay. Let me see if I'm here. Uh-oh. We might need to have you come back, Kelly. We'll give it just a second.
Here we go.
Oh, good.
Sorry,
Okay,
guys.
so no, you're fine. So the question that I was wondering is, we're going to talk about harvesting corn. When does the corn harvest take place in Indiana?
So every year, it typically happens at a different time. It just really depends on when crops were planted that year, the weather, what kind of variety of corn or soybean you're growing, because there's shorter and longer growing varieties. Right now, there are some farms that have started harvesting their grain. We will be geared up to go probably in about 2 weeks. So right now, we are currently getting everything ready to go. So we are working on our equipment, changing the oil, getting everything greased up. We've got some parts here that actually go on the bean head of the combine. So we're changing out some things on our equipment, and I am making sure that we will have enough food to feed us, and there's all kinds of things that we have to get ready to go before we actually get out into the fields, because once we get out there, it goes fast.
Excellent. So you mentioned a combine. Can you tell us some of the equipment that's used when harvesting corn?
Yeah, I sure can. So I am going to take you guys out to our farm lot here. So let me turn this around. So these are the three main pieces of equipment that we use. So the big yellow guy, that is the combine. And there's 2 different heads that go on the combine. So this guy right here, this is a head. It comes off. And there is a grain head that's used for soybeans and wheat and other grains and oil seeds. And then there's also a corn head that is specifically used for harvesting corn. And so that's the machine that takes the crop off of the field. And then the grain will actually come out of this auger. And we always have somebody operating what we call the grain cart, or some people call it the auger wagon. And that is actually my job. So I operate this tractor and I haul this wagon. And this wagon actually has an auger on it. And the grain will come out of this auger and it will go into the trailer of this big semi truck. And so a lot of grain farmers now have their own semi trucks, which at one time that wasn't really a thing, but now it's kind of become pretty common. And so the grain will fill up this trailer, and then it will get hauled to the grain elevator, which will then send it on to places all over the world.
Wow. Can you, okay, so behind the semi truck, I believe those are silos, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Behind the semi truck, were we looking at silos?
Okay, so that, yeah, so since this is an old farm, we do have some outdated pieces here. That is an old little grain bin we no longer use. And then that silo is actually what great grandpa used to store feed for his cattle in long time ago. And I've wanted to keep that here on our farm, just kind of as a reminder of where we came from.
So what would a silo have been used for when your grandparents were there, your great grandparents?
So what they used it for was what you can do with the corn plant here is some farmers will chop the entire plant, the ear, the stalk, the leaves, everything. That will get all chopped up in a machine called a silage chopper, and then it will get put into a wagon, and then the wagon will unload it into the silo, and it will create a fermented food for the cattle. And so the silos kind of have just a different system set up inside of them, because the moisture levels of silage is just a little bit higher than your dry grains.
You guys sure get to do a lot of stuff with machinery and technology. This is so exciting. Is that your favorite part?
Yes, well, I should say that's one of the things that I enjoy. I really do enjoy helping operate the machinery and just kind of being out there in nature and the elements. And but I do also love this might sound a little nerdy, but I love the educational part of agriculture because things are always changing and there's always so much technology and just different things that we can be learning. We're constantly trying to figure out how we can be better farmers and better stewards of the land. And that's the part I absolutely love is something is always changing every year.
It keeps you fresh and you get to keep learning. I love that.
Yes.
So you mentioned that when the corn leaves your farm, I think you said it goes to a grain elevator. I don't think that we all know what that is. I mean, is it like the elevator you would ride in a store or what is that?
Okay, so a grain elevator, it's kind of a kind of an old term, but so what an elevator is basically um, it. Every elevator has a large group of bins or some form of grain storage, and depending on what the grain is used for. So, for example, a lot of our corn goes to ethanol production. So that the elevator or the grain facility might be right next to, I guess, a factory that produces ethanol, and so the term elevator is another way of saying the end user of our grain or the buyer of our grain.
Ah,
And
I
so
like.
yeah, so it's kind of an old-fashioned term because there is an elevator that carries the grain up into the storage systems. So
Okay, there you go, guys. A little bit of history. And so when you see those things, you'll know a little bit more about it.
mhm.
Okay, so you mentioned ethanol, which we met a race car driver recently
Mhm.
who uses ethanol, I believe. I'm trying to go back and remember everything. What kinds of things are the corn and soybeans on your farm used for?
Okay, so our corn that we grow goes all to ethanol plants. I shouldn't say all. Once in a while, it will go to a feed mill that gets milled as food for animals. But primarily, our corn goes towards ethanol. But the really cool thing about ethanol is the process to make ethanol. There's a it produces a byproduct that actually gets used as protein to feed animals. So our corn actually gets 2 uses out of it, which I think is very cool and is such a great use of our renewable resources.
So, because we keep throwing the word ethanol around, can you tell everybody, like, what does that mean when you're saying it gets turned into ethanol? What is ethanol?
So ethanol is, and I am not the best at explaining these kinds of things.
Totally high level. It's fine.
But I'm glad, I'm glad that I think my audience can relate with me. But ethanol is another name for gasoline or fuel that goes into your vehicles that is actually made out of corn alcohol. So essentially, this ear of corn can make a vehicle go down the road, or it can produce things like plastic and other products that you would use gasoline and petroleum for.
And I love that about corn and other plants that are grown on the farm, because we really just think about corn as something that we eat or the animals eat. But you're saying that this corn can actually power vehicles, and then what's left over is used to feed the animals as well.
Yes, absolutely. So I think a lot of people think of, when they think of corn, they think of the sweet corn that you buy at the grocery store or a farm market that that you would actually eat with your dinner, like like this. But our corn is a special variety that gets dried out and then it gets used for other things.
Excellent. Okay, so harvest season. It's coming up. What is your favorite part about harvesting corn or harvesting other products that you grow on your farm?
Okay, so this is a really good question. And every year there is a point in harvest where it's kind of like the middle of the season, and the sky is what I call an October sky. It's kind of gray, it's cloudy, but it's still cozy and overcast. And the fall colors are just popped up against it. And I'm in my tractor out in the middle of the field with my warm coffee, and I don't have a care in the world other than getting that grain off of the semi into the semi, or off of the combine into the semi truck. And you kind of just feel the sense of morale with everybody that's working on the farm, and you feel a sense of accomplishment, and this huge weight gets lifted off of your shoulders being able to get that crop out of it. And so it's kind of a combination of different feelings going on there, but that is my favorite part every year.
It's kind of like, for those of you guys watching at home that are working on group projects, maybe through Zoom or in school in person, it's kind of like the ultimate group project, but you have to feed the world and power all the vehicles.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, farming is one giant group project. It takes so many people and so many different pieces to the puzzle to make it happen. So
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so right now, like, families are getting excited to go out and start visiting farms to like get their pumpkins and their apples and play in corn mazes and things like that. And so since we will be out, a lot of us live in the city, but since a lot of us will now be out sort of in more rural areas, if we see a combine on the road, because this all coincides with harvest time. So if we see a combine on the road, what are some safety tips that you have for kids and their parents when they're out on the roads and they see the farm equipment and machinery?
So this is a really good question. I really appreciate you asking this because things are getting harder every year as equipment gets bigger and our roads still stay the same size. So my best advice that I can offer to families coming and going is to, when you see equipment up ahead, please, please, please just slow down and assess the situation. If you can't stop or pull over, pass by the piece of equipment as slowly as you can. But if you can, please pull off the driveway somewhere where you can safely hang out, because I guarantee you you're not going to be there for more than 2 minutes, if that. And so I think that's the best way to keep everybody safe, is if you pull into a driveway. If you can't do that, safely pull off to the side of the road. But be very careful about soft ditches and berms and things like that. Something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people get upset and wonder why farmers can't pull off to the side. It's because our equipment, you see that guy out there, he is really heavy. He is really heavy and he's really tall, and it's hard to fit underneath the power lines, and it's hard to get a heavy piece of equipment off to the side of the road without it sinking into the ground, because the ground gets kind of soft. So, but thank you for asking that, because that is definitely a huge concern of ours, because we want to keep ourselves safe and we want to keep all the families that are kind of passing through and enjoying the harvest safe as well. And if I could offer one more favor to everybody, smile and wave at us, because we're out there working hard, and sometimes we don't get to see a lot of people, and there's nothing that just warms my heart up more than when somebody smiles and waves at me from a vehicle. It makes me so happy when people do that. So
I never thought to do that, but I know that when we wave at trains and things like that, my kids are always excited when somebody waves back. So we're going to be looking for you. Now,
yeah.
See, you have corn in front of you, and I think you actually have a corn plant and a soybean plant you can show us, right?
Yes. Yep. So this is a soybean plant that was pulled up from the field. As you can see, it is green. So it is not ready to be harvested yet. But a couple more weeks here, it will be drying out. And then when the moisture levels are low, we'll be able to harvest it. We actually have a little penny here, so you can kind of see how big the little pod is. Every pod can have 2 to 4 beans in it. We always hope to have those 4, but most of the time you get 3. Our soybeans are actually a very special variety. Ours they are grown to provide a healthier cooking oil that is lower in saturated fat, and it has a high temperature frying potential. And it's a cleaner frying oil. So we kind of have a little niche for our soybeans. And then, like I said, our corn goes to ethanol. And these are what the ears look like when they're getting dried out. And then here I've got a stalk here. It's kind of ugly because he is in the process of drying out and getting ready for harvest.
So you leave them in the ground to dry, is that correct?
Yes, yep, they get left in the ground. And I would love to take you guys out to the field, but I'm really worried that we're going to lose connection. But when you guys are driving through Indiana right now and you see corn stalks in the field that are brown, they still have these ears on them, and they are getting ready to be harvested at any time.
Fantastic. Is it the same with the soybeans then? You leave them in the ground until they dry?
Yes. So the soybeans will dry out just like the corn will. They will kind of they'll thin out, the leaves will drop, and it'll just be the dry stalk and the dry pods.
Awesome. And then do you have a machine that takes the soybeans off, or do you just take the whole thing?
So the soybeans get cut at the bottom of the stalk. So they will actually get clipped off right here. And the machine will actually gobble. So they are cut actually with this bar right here.
Oh, yes.
So, and then they will get fed. They will get fed through here with this auger, and that will send it up into the machine. And that machine is one of the most amazing things in the world. It will separate the trash from the actual soybean.
And the trash is being the part of the plant that you don't want to lose, not actual garbage.
Correct. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then what happens with the trash? Does that get fed to animals, or what happens with it?
So on our farm, it actually gets scattered. It goes back out the end of the combine, and it actually breaks down and goes back into the ground as nutrients in the soil.
It's like compost.
Yeah, there's a lot of science that goes into that. So It breaks
I
down and
love
someday it
that.
becomes dirt.
You guys are really like reusing everything. Like nothing is actually really trash on your farm. That's so great.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well,
And so
Kelly, is there are there any other interesting facts you want to share or anything else you want to share with us?
well, I was trying to think of a couple. So we did share earlier that this farm has been in the family for a while. So a very interesting fact is that my husband and I are the fourth generation to farm this ground. And something that's really unique about our farm specifically is that we actually live in our farm shop. So the shop is where we work on our equipment. And so it's kind of like a giant garage. And if you leave the shop and go into our house part, you wouldn't even know you're in a farm shop. It's just like living in a regular house.
And
So
I think I read somewhere, you designed that, didn't you?
I did, yes. And when you choose to do something like that, it is a lifestyle. We are 100% dedicated to farming and this lifestyle. And we do run a lot of older equipment because our farm is smaller. And so a lot of time is spent in the shop maintaining that equipment and making sure that it is running properly because we don't like to stop in the middle of harvest and fix equipment. So my husband, Farmer Dan, he used to be a mechanic, so he spends a lot of time out here working on our own stuff. So, and I do help him from time to time when he needs it. So,
Excellent.
mm-hmm.
Well,
I guess
oh,
a third fact I have
yes.
is we have a dog.
Oh, look at me.
We have a dog named Farmer. Farmer, come here, Farmer.
Oh, hi, farmer.
And Farmer, he rides in all of the equipment with us. So he gets carried up the combine ladder, and he rides in the tractor with me, and he just does everything with us. He is our little farm hand. So,
Oh, nice to meet you, farmer.
so.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today, Kelly. Now, I know that you have a website and some social media pages that people can follow along and see how your harvest goes and what it's like to live on a farm. Where can people find you?
So I am on Instagram and Facebook as Old Blue Silo. I also have a blog called oldbluesilo.com. And yeah, I share a lot about our farm life. I share a lot about just rural living, good food, and places to visit. And I love sharing how we like to decorate our barn house and just, some comfy but still fashionable things to wear while farming and stuff like that. So I just have a lot of fun with it, and I love sharing with people. So come by and say hi.
Definitely. If you guys follow Kelly on Instagram, Old Blue Silo, make sure you let her know that you saw her on Indie with Kids Farmer Friday. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you out on the combine, and we'll definitely all be sure to wave at you.
Yes, thank you so much. I love being here for you guys.
Thanks, Kelly.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. All right, guys, that was Kelly, our friend, the Indiana farmer, and she was our Farmer Friday feature for today. Okay, now that we're about to go, it would be an acceptable time for you guys to go to the Glass Barn website and play virtual Bean Go. I will make sure to put that in the comments. If you do that, we have less than a week left or until supplies run out, where you can get your very own swag from the Glass Barn at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. And they're going to send you some pretty cool stuff. This is a video of my kids opening up our swag box that we got right in the beginning of all this so that I could share with you how this goes. So Scouty there is checking out what's inside, and she found a chapstick that is made with soybeans and some other stuff, but it has soybeans in it. And of course, Lulu is trying on her hat, which again, you guys can get all of this for free. All you have to do is go play virtual bingo on the Glass Barn website. And so that's the beautiful hat for 2020. Been there, done that. It actually says, I've not been there, done that. You can add that to your collection. And then next year, at the Indiana State Fair, you head on over to the Glass Barn, you play bingo in person, and you get your 2021 hat when maybe we won't be saying summer's no fair next year. And then there's Quinny opening up what she found in the swag box, and it was a package of crayons also made with soy. So very cool. And then there was a couple more things in there, and these have been perfect for us during virtual learning. My kids are always looking for something to fidget with and do with their hands. So let's see. Come on, girls, open up. Now they're trying on the chapstick. I forgot they did this in this video. It was delicious chapstick is what they said. I don't know if you guys should be eating it, but it is made with soy, so it's probably fine, right? All right, inside there were plushies, little squishies. So there was a chicken, a pig, and a cow, and something that all three of those animals have in common is they all eat soybeans, right, guys? How cool is that? So head on over to the Glass Barn website. You can go do that now and play virtual bingo. I'll drop it in the comments for you as soon as I get off of here. And next week, we'll see you at Farmer Friday, 10 a.m. or anytime on the replay. Make sure you share this with your friends, and thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.